in the room. Come on in the room. Come on in, get some juice. Come on in, get some juice, get some tea. Come on in the room. We're about to talk about one of my favorite topics. Get on in the room. Today we're about to talk about law. Law is something that's near and dear to my heart, and today's topic is going to take us to the heart of Gary, Indiana. That's right. We are going to go to the heart of Gary, Indiana by way of the United States Capitol, guys. That's right, the United States Capitol. Now, keep in mind, yesterday I slept all day once I got out of school. And I missed it. I missed all the darn action, y'all. I missed all the action. So we all know that at the end of every presidency, the president that's transitioning out of power hands down a clemency list. Y'all, President Joe Biden announced on Friday that he was commuting the sentence of nearly 2,500 people. That's right. Nearly 2,500 people sentences was commuted yesterday. These people were people of nonviolent crimes, served far longer sentences so far than what they had would have served today had they went to court and went to trial and went through what they went to today. Sort of what we kind of seen play out with the YSL trial. Joe Biden, as we know, he handed down his clemency list as he was exiting office. He passed down his clemency list as he was exiting office yesterday, and his list consisted of almost 2,500 people. Keep in mind, this list did include his son. That's right. He did pardon his very own son for whatever his son was accused of. Now, first, I want to break down the difference in between presidential clemency and a governor's clemency. So a presidential clemency, in comparison to a governor's clemency, is done on a federal level. And for those of us, in layman's terms, the president can do what the governor cannot. But the governor can do what the president cannot. Right? So the president can pardon you on a federal level, but he has no jurisdiction on the state level. The governor can pardon you on the state level, but he has no jurisdiction on the federal level, if that makes sense. So the president can go in any federal court and overturn whatever the federal court says, if indeed he feel like you were judged biasly. And then on a state level, the governor can overturn whatever the courts ruled if he feel like you were judged unbiasedly. All right. So yesterday, Joe Biden took to the podium. I guess this list came down sometime yesterday while I was at school. And I'm interested in this and I'm invested in this because on a local level, it's two cases out of Gary, Indiana that I have been watching for about a total of 5 years, right? And I've been watching these cases because both of these people are my homeboys. One is my daughter's godfather, and the other is my brother's close friend. And I recently took to these cases because I know that prosecutorial misconduct is present in both cases, as well as both boys were prosecuted egregiously. I had been reaching out to the boys in hopes to cover their cases on my podcast to try to see if I could work with them on getting them home a little bit earlier than their projected release dates. And while talking with both boys behind the scenes, neither one really wanted to talk as of yet, and neither one of them told me that they had submitted to clemency. So to break down what way a clemency could come about. A clemency could come about by way of a pardon, which is complete forgiveness. And that means the crime will be throughout, the time will be throughout, the fees will be throughout, and everything about whatever they said you did, you will become innocent. That's in layman terms. A reprieve is when you temporarily delay an execution. So that usually comes with a federal case where perhaps you have an execution date and the president may say, okay, let's get him a stay, get him more time for the judicial system to absolutely positively make sure that this person is guilty. A remission of fines and restitution means that while you may be guilty of the crime, the federal government is deciding through clemency of the president that we don't want the money. We got the time, and we're going to grant them clemency, and we're going to go ahead and let them go home with the time that they have served. All right. So that's that. And then it's my favorite one, a commute. So this list of approximately 24,090 people was commuted on yesterday. Around 5 a.m., the list was released, and President Joe Biden took to the podium a little later in the evening on yesterday. He commuted those people, which he reduced the severity of their punishment without forgiving the crime itself. A commutation may shorten a prison sentence, but leave the conviction in place. So that's what he did for all these people. 3 of Gary, Indiana neighborhoods was impacted by the commutation yesterday: Ivanhoe, Concord, as well as the Bronx. Joseph R. Biden will be exiting in 2 days on the 20th, and Donald R. Trump will take the presidency. As Joe Biden left, he made no apologies for the amount of people that he commuted on yesterday. And in commuting those people yesterday, he impacted my city a great deal. As he did the commutation yesterday, he commuted from the Brunswick area, Jason Best, bravo to J. Boo. From Concord Commons, he commuted Bobby Suggs, bravo B.O. From Ivanhoe Gardens, he commuted Charles Scott, bravo MC. I am so grateful to President Biden for what he has done for these families. All of these young men have been gone away from their homes, away from their communities, away from their families, away from their children. They now have grandchildren for approximately 20 plus years. They have lost loved ones. They have lost friends. They have lost time in the lives of people who they love near and dear. Well, I have not had the opportunity to talk to Bob himself at all whatsoever. I have touched bases with J. Boo, and he is excited and elated to be coming home and very anxious to know his out date. An out date is not present yet. If you were to check the federal BOP, it still will have the out date as what it is, because even though the commute came down yesterday, it takes time for the paperwork to be processed. Depending on the specifics of the commutation order, meaning if they're going on probation, if they're going on parole, if they have drug court or services or anything like that that they have to go along with in regards to their clemency, right? If they got to do check-ins, it just depends on what all was entailed in the commuting process. That's how long it may take for them to be processed out. The commute could take anywhere from 14 to 25 days for them to actually come home. So you say to me, are they coming home? Like, just stop beating around the bush. Are they coming home? Absolutely, positively, 100%. Yes. All 3 young men will be home. With the young men should be home by the end of January, early to mid-February at the max. Again, it depends on how fast or how slow the Federal Bureau of BOP process their paperwork, and how quick the White House get it from the White House over to the BOP. But they knew before Biden passed it down and made the announcement yesterday. They actually knew about 72 hours before we all knew. It's public record. You can look it up. You will see all 3 of their names on the White House clemency list. I will be watching the status. I will know their hopefully I will be able to bring you in-person interviews with all 3 young men on Simply Went to the podcast. What I will not do, for the privacy and the respect of all 3 families, is update their release dates, because these young men deserve the right, the dignity, and the respect to come home with decency, with privacy, and in order. They carried their neighborhoods on their back. They are the last men from each neighborhood to come home. And so, in that regard, I'm going to give back and allow them their time to come home in privacy. Well, I will know, they will know, and their family will know that they're on their way home. I will not share that information publicly. I will let them come home and transition home in peace. And then once they're home and I've made contact with them and they're ready to come forward in their own time, their own space, and by their own standards, I'll meet with each young man one by one on their terms and by their standards to do their interview. Whatever they say publicly is what they say publicly. Again, I have not heard from Bob yet. I have heard from J Boo, and I have not heard from Mr. Scott yet. But all three boys are aware that they have been granted clemency. Stay tuned to Simply Went to M the podcast as this story continues to unfold. And I'll hopefully be able to bring you the interviews with these young men in about 3 weeks' time. I'm Winter, and I'm out.
I don't even know what's about to happen next, but I'm already thanking God for what he's about to do. I can feel his hands around me, and I can feel him telling me just to my course stay true.